Hi, and welcome to The Call to Create. Become the creator you want to be in midlife. I'm Betsy Bush, and I'm talking to people who have followed their muse to a creative life in retirement, or as empty nesters, or whatever. And they've found an exciting and satisfying new way of being. Today, my guest is Cherie Corso. She's a fabulous abstract artist who, on top of creating beautiful paintings, is applying her skills as an entrepreneur to getting her work seen. She's also creating a work of public art centered on the boroughs of New York City, and it's such an interesting project. Welcome, Cherie.
Thank you, Betsy. I'm so happy to be here.
This is so much fun.
It's so much fun. I'm so excited. Actually, I got to contain the excitement because anything creative I love, and I love how you're bringing this to my doorstep. Thank you so much.
Well, that's great. You know, we met. I've been talking about how I walked into an art center and just thought I wanted to start creating. I walked into an abstract art class, which was nice. It wasn't life drawing and it wasn't still life or anything like that. And I loved the way it just kind of flowed. And you were there in the class and, you know, we connected. And I've been learning from looking at the work other people are doing. And I love the work you have here on either side. And I've got to ask you, how long have you been working as an artist here?
Well, I met you at the Pelham Art Center. I've been taking classes there for about 2 years now.
Only 2 years?
Only 2 years.
Wow.
But prior to that, I was a art major in college for freshman year. But then everyone said, you're never going to make money in the arts, Cherie. You have to be a business major. So I switched, and it was heartbreaking. And I've always been into fashion. I've always loved color. So I've always had arts, going to museums. And then I finally decided start painting at, over 50.
Yes. We're there.
Yeah,
We're
in late 50s.
No, that's right.
Here I am. Now at 60 years old, painting, being published, selling my work, and having people really talk about it, which is just so exciting.
It's incredible, and your story gives me just so much hope that this is indeed, it's possible to reinvent yourself. Now, what kind of career did you have before taking this step?
I have a degree in business and marketing. I worked for a major company. I did the marketing. I left that, and then I started a business in the pet industry. And it was called Pet Safe, and I did sell it, and my name and all the intellectual property, but I had that for 14 years.
Wow.
Then after that, I always worked out of my home because I have a daughter, and I always wanted to be there. And so I tried to do a cosmetic business thinking, oh, that's going to be so easy. It's not. Everything is always mass produced. A lot of people, they just put a label on it, all comes out of the same factory. And I wanted to do organic and finding the ingredients and mixing it up like a chemist in my kitchen. It was just too much. So then I just sat back for a while and I said, what am I going to do? And I just started saying, what's my passion? And my husband said to me, Cherie, you love the arts. You love everything about it. And then I did some art and fashion shows, but I wasn't the artist behind it. Then all of a sudden, I just started painting myself because, Betsy, sometimes you look at people's work and you're like, you know what? I can do that. But you're scared to put yourself out there.
Yeah, it's interesting talking about the fear of taking that first step. What was that like for you? Like, okay, I'm going to take off this mantle of being a cosmetics entrepreneur or whatever, and I'm going to try being a painter, even though no one around me has ever seen me do that.
Exactly. I had friends say, I didn't even know you painted. Oh, now you're an artist? Oh, now you're an artist. And I said, artiste, artiste Cherie. And once they see the work and they see that you're doing it, then they start believing it. And I've donated some of my artwork to some charities, and it brought money in for the charities.
That's great.
And one charity I'm very passionate about, it's in Arkansas, and they're building the Cold War Museum.
Wow.
And Byron Carlock is my contact person there, and he's the big Pooh Bob. He's in charge of everything. And he said, Cherie, after he bought a piece of work, I'd love for you to donate something. And I said, Byron, I'm there. So I found myself in Arkansas meeting people and people liking my art. And I've done also another charity in New York City with the opera. And
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So now you're selling your work. You're not just
Yes,
creating
that's it.
to your satisfaction.
Right.
People are giving you money for the privilege of taking your art home and
Exactly.
hanging it on their wall. I think that's a huge step.
Yes, it's exciting.
Yeah.
When you get your first check or Venmo or whatever form of payment, it really is exciting because it's like they really do appreciate it and they like it, and I have something to say.
That's amazing. Tell me how you go about creating. Well, tell us what you have on either side of you. For those of you who are just listening, please go to either the YouTube version or we'll post pictures on
Sure.
our social media of these two wonderful canvases that are flanking Cherie on either side. Tell us something about what you're showing.
Starting the new
Yeah,
year in
right.
January, these are called the Big O.
Oh,
Yes, O. And they're energy, they're filled with excitement, and they're layers of paint. There's gold, there's silver, there's splashes of paint, and it all kind of meshes together. But if you look really close, it says truth and facts on that one.
Okay.
And it says real and facts, because you know what? We have to be truthful with ourselves. Look at when we have a call to create, and sometimes we look at ourselves in the mirror and we're like, you know what? I'm not that spunky 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old. I've got, wrinkles and gray hair, or it takes longer to put the makeup on or whatever. You know what? It doesn't mean you're not valuable and you don't have anything to say. And I will never lie down and say, I'm done. I will keep going. I'm like a shark in the water. You got to keep moving through. And this is called the Big O because they're very orgasmic in the colors, and they make you feel good, and they add energy, and that's what it's all about.
That's awesome. I find I have so much energy at this point in my life.
Yes.
I have so much energy, and I wish other people who are maybe thinking, kind of my kids are off to college,
Right.
or I'm facing retirement. What do I do now? I really wish they would look at the world of creativity
Absolutely.
as a way to. It's very self-enforcing. It's very energizing, and I feel like you're able to. I don't know. Like when I first started painting, I felt like my head was different on the inside.
It uses different parts of the brain.
You use different parts of your brain. I almost felt like I was forging new neural pathways.
Oh my gosh, you definitely.
Yeah.
Your artwork is very exciting, girl.
I
Don't let
appreciate
those
that.
glasses kid you. There's an artiste under there with very exciting and colors and patterns, and you do some great work.
Well, to me, I love the abstract art class
Yeah.
because to me, it's all about experimenting.
Yes.
And it's about process, not a product. I mean, it's great
Exactly.
that you have a product, but
Right.
you got there through a process.
Oh, it's scary.
Yeah, and it's not about, I've got to have a finished piece that people will know what it looks like, or it looks like something, or it's pretty. To me, it's a process of imagination, of experimentation, and it doesn't have to be meaningful to anyone else but myself.
Absolutely. And it is, I can't say scary, but you really put yourself out there when you're putting your art on the wall, even in your family, and somebody walks by, oh, that's what you painted? And it kind of, you feel that, but you have to say, not everyone is going to like what you do. And art, as I know, being an art lover, it has to resonate with me. So don't ever feel that what you do isn't good. It will resonate with someone.
I feel it's very easy to get discouraged, or I feel like maybe early in one's life, and I've heard this from other people, an offhand comment from a parent, a teacher, a friend or something can really keep someone from developing those skills or that part of their lives, even decades and decades later.
Right. You've got to use those comments to fuel you. Do you know how many times in my life I have heard, well, you can't do this, or, for example, I had a media career on TV too. And I'm like, why? Just go out there. If you have something interesting to say and you make a good presentation, why not you on there? Look at the experts they have on TV. Yeah. Why can't it be you? Look at the clowns out there telling us what to do. I think, listen to your common sense. You probably know more, than most of the people out there.
Well, I think the interesting thing about this state of technology that we're in now is the guardrail, or not the gatekeepers.
Yeah, the gatekeepers
are not there anymore.
That's
right? I mean, when we were coming up, if you wanted to publish a book, you'd have to find an agent and shop it, and all the different, and there were gatekeepers there keeping you out of everything. Now, of course, you could self-publish a book very easily.
Very easily.
Right?
You have to just bring it right to the streets.
Yeah.
And that's what I do with my art, with a project I'm working on right now called Pulse of New York. I know this is going to sound really crazy, Betsy, on what I've been doing, and it might sound a little dangerous and a little daring, but I'm going for it.
You know what? Can you, for our YouTube watchers, Cherie is pulling up this really interesting canvas how big is this?
This is
like
5 by 5.
Okay.
And it is 5 boroughs, 5 canvases. Wow. I'm painting a background on each canvas, and then I bring it to the borough in the streets, whether it's in the subway, in front of Saks Fifth Avenue, wherever I bring it, I roll it out in the middle of the streets, and people walk on it, and I trace their footprint, or they write a little something on it. This one was in the Bronx at Fordham University. So when we're talking about self-branding, which sounds crazy sometimes, but everyone's got a brand. Everyone has a brand.
I've got my glasses.
We all have a brand, whether we realize it or not. So the kids had fun writing on it, and I did their footprints on it. And then when it's done, my goal is to have all 5 displayed at the Brooklyn Museum.
Great.
So we're working on that. But
and you had an interesting encounter with your Manhattan thing for Fashion Week. Right?
Oh,
Tell us about that.
So when I, my first canvas, and I carry the canvas rolled up in an umbrella case, okay? So I had my umbrella and the canvas, and I was like, okay, I'm going to roll it out in the street and see what happens. My hands, Betsy, my hands were shaking on the streets of New York, and people were walking by with their suitcases, and I'm trying to, and one girl from the fashion show, she's like, girl, I got you. And she took my camera and she started videotaping it. And so that was the first canvas, and then it went into the pizza shop, and people were dancing on it. We had people getting stoned and drinking champagne. It's all on the video. And then the next night, I brought it to a book signing, and I went outside the book signing and was on the Upper West Side, and I put it out in the canvas, and this woman came by, and some people will step right on the canvas and not think about it. Other people are curious, what's it going about? And she said, can I put something on it? And I said, of course. and she pulls out this thing and she sticks it in the canvas. And I go, what is that? And she goes, it's blood. And I go, oh, did we get that on camera?
This is New York, baby.
This is New York, baby. It's blood. And I think there were a lot of protests going on at that time. And I think she had something to say. So the stories that are on the canvas are really interesting. People dancing on it, people, expressing their love for New York, from Australia, from Saipan.
Wow.
We have people everywhere.
So how did you come up with this idea, and what made you kind of like, I've got to get out there? Because, as you say, that takes nerve, right?
It takes nerve.
Yeah.
You know what?
Right.
It's, my husband is a very reserved guy, and he's in finance, and he was like, I love it. Do it. And he would videotape me sometimes. It does take nerve. But you know what? At this point in my life, I don't really care what people think. I just don't care. And has no guardrails because it's like, you want to walk on it. If you don't, keep it moving, honey, because I don't care. I really just don't care.
That's awesome. I love it.
Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has something to say. And what is funny is when it was on the Bronx, when it was on News 12 in the Bronx, and the Bronx did a write-up on it in the newspaper, then all of a sudden people started saying, that's cool. I was part of it. And then it starts, it's funny. It's almost like, what do they call it? The sheep theory. When more people want it, they start believing in it, and then it starts snowballing. I even had a husband and wife. This was kind of interesting. This was at the Cornell Club in Manhattan. And, he's the husband's looking like, oh, what you got there? And I told him about the product and the project. And he said, oh, I'd love to participate. And his wife said, me too. And you know what? He drew a little tiny house on it, and then she came over and put a little sun on top of it.
Oh.
Was that sweet?
Yes.
And they were like an older couple, probably like in their 70s. And they just really, you know what I mean, wanted to be a part of it and thought it was really cool.
So, you're having interesting interactions with people on the street. And I think if you're not a New Yorker, or if you haven't been here, maybe you have this like, oh, I would never talk to someone. But I find New Yorkers are
the best.
The best.
The New Yorkers are the best. This city has its problems, just like every city. But a New Yorker will be the first one to help you. And I have rolled out my canvas in the subway, okay? I have had the Michael Jackson impersonator go on it. Billie Jean, my son on the canvas. With the moonwalk on it. Exactly. I have had everybody on it, and that's what the Five Boroughs project signifies, the energy of New York. What makes it great? What makes this the greatest city in the world? And I think it's the greatest city in the world. And I think we have, it's the most visited city too.
I had friends visiting from Germany last spring, and we spent days on, walking across the Brooklyn Bridge and on the High Line and the Empire State Building. And everyone, it was just a great vibe there. Everyone was into it. Everyone was friendly. Everyone was getting along. There was never anything.
Never.
And I was very proud of New York.
I feel so proud of this city. People come and, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody, but the people that understand it and like the arts and fashion and great restaurants and cool people and if you haven't been to, I went to NYU as a I love NYU.
So I've been around the city for 40 years. It's kind of incredible to think about. But some of what they're doing on the streets with blocking off, I think it's Broadway that runs crossways, and you have the cafe tables and chairs, and where you can kind of relax and have a coffee, and there's more. There's a street culture,
I love the
cafe
street culture
and stuff
Love
like that.
it.
That has really improved life in the city, where you can sit and have a cup of coffee, look look at your phone, read a paper, whatever, meet with friends.
Exactly.
And there's that has really improved life in the city. It's not just about traffic going in and out. There are places now where you can kind of spread out, and it's for pedestrians.
Exactly.
And I think and to me, there's something. It's somehow tied in with art for me, because
It
you're
is.
seeing people as you're
seeing
seeing the city as a canvas and people as an integral part of that.
Right. And it's a photograph that's always changing. And especially in the fashion world right now, it used to be what's on the runway they will wear on the streets. Now it's designers are saying, let's go to the streets. And that we're dictating what we wear.
Yeah,
And
interesting,
it's
right?
really interesting
Yeah.
with the colors and the individuality and the expression. People don't want to be cookie cutter.
Yeah.
They want to.
Oh, and you see that
show.
in New York,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, do you see that in New York?
totally.
Like,
Yeah.
we don't care.
Yeah.
You know, you're running around in tutu. You want to be called Beyonce? We'll call you Beyonce. Let's just keep it moving.
So, what skills did you bring from your life as a business person, an entrepreneur?
Sure.
What did you bring from that life to the life you're living now?
Well, what I brought was communicating the message. With the marketing degree, what does it mean? What do you want to say? And that was, really had to think about that. And I am a person, I like color, I like vibrant, I love interesting people, tasty food, everything. So that's what I brought to it. And I also brought my business sense, where how do I get my art out there so people can see it and want to buy it, because it is affordable, and I'm not pricing myself out of the market. For between $200 and $1,500, you can get a beautiful piece of art that's
sure.
real.
We were talking once, Cherie, about, when we're painting, we all have a lot of extra canvases
Yes.
at home that either don't get sold or aren't hanging. And they should be hanging in, hospitals,
Yes.
assisted living
Every
facilities.
blank wall.
Yeah, these blank walls, and also this kind of mass-produced art that has, to my mind, not much artistic value, or it's reproduced in so many places. It's really not.
You're desensitized to it.
Exactly. And I think seeing new things around, I would love to see, I don't know, a movement. Someone making
I
the
love
effort.
that. Let's start it right now.
Let's start it right now.
The call to create.
That's right. Let's get these canvases that we're all painting, up. Maybe we could have like a revolving exhibit of different canvases.
I love that.
In places where people really need to see new and fresh stuff, because they're there all the time, and after a while you don't even see that thing that's been hanging there forever.
Right. And it adds a new energy to your environment, to your home, to your office. And what I love about abstract art is you notice something different in it every time. Like how many, that picture, it's like of the bull. We've seen that everywhere we go, every financial office, they have like the bull. We've kind of always
the
seen
Wall Street bull.
The Wall Street bull. Wouldn't you like to see something like a little abstract with that in it, or a little more? I was reading about one woman who had a corporate job, and they let her bring her artwork into the corporate office, and it was all in there. So it's also about networking and using your contacts to where it should go. But you know what? I can't stand it how there's so many beautiful pieces that you make, people make, and they're just kind of piled up. Let's get this art out there and make the world more beautiful with it.
I think so. I also think with all of the AI that's out there that can create images for you, I somehow feel like we as humans need to reassert our humanity and make original art and
so,
share it
too.
with other people, because I think this is what it is to be human, is to create.
It's like Listen to it. You want to touch, sniff, and feel it, and feel that art.
Yeah.
It's almost like what's going on in the beauty industry too. How some of the everyone's looking a little bit cookie cutter on some of these days. They all want like the bigger lips, the this, the that. It's like, girl, you're gorgeous. Be yourself, because that's what makes you unique.
Yes, that's right.
It really does.
That's right. And imperfections are what make what make it unique.
Yes.
And imperfections is what makes something art.
It really
It's not when
is.
it's perfect. It's when there's the artist puts in a little something that's not quite perfect.
Exactly.
That's the human touch. That's the artist touch.
Absolutely. It's even like when Entenmann's first started, okay? And they would make like this crumb cake, and it was perfect because it was machine made. And they said, no, people don't want to put this on the table because it doesn't look homemade. So then they started making the little crunchies on top in different sizes. And they try to make it look more homemade. There is a sense when something is homemade, it's authentic and it's real.
That's great.
Yeah.
And what's more authentic and real than the things we make ourselves?
That we mix the paint, we put it on, and you know what? We're also, when you're painting and you're creating, you're making choices every day. Like sometimes you wake up in the morning, you say, okay, what I have to go food shopping, I have to do this, the choices, I have to talk to this friend. But when you're painting, doing art, or writing a book, or writing a screenplay, whatever you want to do, you're constantly making choices about, what am I going to do with that character? What am I going to do with that paint? How are they going to receive it? What is the audience going to think? It's this constant back and forth, and it makes you feel alive again.
Yeah. I'm convinced that there's something about the creative process that is absolutely central to keeping our brains healthy.
It is. The C people, and they call the C people creative people, they have a lower rate of depression. And then also what they're doing with doctors that they've been doing for a while is they're taking them to museums and having them take art classes just to use that other part of their brain.
What words of encouragement do you have for people who are maybe kind of, I don't know, teetering on the brink here, or maybe taking baby steps towards finding a creative pursuit?
Keep taking those baby steps and be fearless, because you have something to say, and I want to hear what you have to say. I don't want to just hear what people are telling me I need to hear. I want to hear something new, and you have a voice, and you're important, and that's what I want to say to people. Just like this Pulse of New York, from pedicab drivers to movie stars have been on this canvas. Everybody makes up what we are, and everybody is important. And be fearless. And when I say be fearless, you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, step aside, bitches, here I come.
It's easy to get discouraged, and if you're uncertain about your own skills, I think it's someone walking in to a new experience, where maybe you're used to being top of your game in your working world.
Absolutely.
And then suddenly you walk into, say, I don't know if you've ever done writing workshops or, an art class, and suddenly you look around and you're like at the bottom of the totem pole, not at the top.
It's humbling.
Right?
It's
It
very
is
humbling. When we're, in the art class and there's someone that was an art teacher and they are making incredible sketches or doing something. And then I look down, I'm like, oh God, but you know what? You learn from everybody. You can't feel intimidated by people, you have to learn from them and admire, hey, that's great what you do, but I bet you couldn't roll out a canvas in the middle of Manhattan and get people to step on it. Bet you could be sitting here with Betsy Butch on Call to Create and telling your story. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. This has been a great conversation, Cherie, and I'm so grateful that you took time to bring your art and bring your canvas here. And I've just really enjoyed this.
Thank you. It is the call to create, and whenever you need me, I'll be here because I believe in you, and I think this is the most fantastic thing that the world needs to hear.
Hey, thank you so much.
Thank
This has
you.
been a
Oh, we could talk
fantastic
forever.
We
I love
could.
this.
And I think we have talked
Yes.
forever.
Thank you. That's so great.
To be continued. Thank you so much, Cherie. This
Thank
has
you.
been
It's
great.
my honor to be here.
Thanks.